Jean Grey, number 3 of 4, the penultimate issue, Obsession, written by Louise Simonson, art by Bernard Chang, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, letters by Ariana Mayer, and design by Jay Bowen, just Jay Bowen. So we've been reading this Jean Grey miniseries. It seemed to kind of sort of come out of Jean's apparent death at the Hellfire Gala, but was really an excuse for Louise Simonson to revisit moments of Jean's life, to have Jean explore mentally if things might have gone better if she had made different choices at a pivotal time. Premise of Jean Grey number 1 was, what if I didn't wipe the memories of us original 5 X-Men after we went back in time after a visit to the future? And the answer was nothing good. Premise of Jean Grey number 2 was, hey, what if I let Logan pilot that shuttle through the radiation storm so that I didn't end up in Jamaica Bay, dead? Now the answer again was nothing good. But then something happened in between issues 2 and 3 of this series. What happened was issue 16 of Immortal X-Men, right? A series that had seemed unconnected until Hope and Exodus, wandering across a desert controlled by Mother Righteous, found Jean Grey kind of trapped in her own mind, saying the same words we had seen her say in the Jean Grey miniseries. Recontextualized everything. Now it seemed like Jean and Hope and Exodus and all those other mutants in Immortal, they seemed to be stuck in the white-hot room, the abode of the Phoenix. So I thought this might change everything about this miniseries, which it really doesn't. It is acknowledged here in Jean Grey number 3. We see Jean dimly perceiving the presence of Hope. We get an editor's note on the title and credits page directing confused readers to Immortal X-Men number 16. Can you imagine someone only picking up this Jean Grey miniseries and seeing that weird stuff happen in the background? That'd be really confusing. Like an old school X fan who hasn't been keeping up on Krakoa at all.
Yeah.
And, Louise Simonson, Jean Grey, I'll buy that.
Yeah, why the hell are Hope and
that reader is going to be
yelling at Jean?
But other than that, the new context doesn't really change how the series works. This issue looks back at Inferno. That's the original Inferno, a giant Marvel crossover from the late 1980s, which is something I, to be honest, have not read in anything close to its entirety. There is an Inferno omnibus list on Amazon if you're making out your early Christmas list. That omnibus is over 1,200 pages long. That doesn't even include the other 800 pages in the Inferno prologue collection that sets up where it all comes from. So, super complicated event. One of the biggest events ever.
Yeah, I've never read it either. And I would say this, as I read this issue, I was like, that seems like a lot of cool, interesting stuff. So I may ask the wife for that. I guess I got to ask for both, right? Both of the omnibuses.
If you're going to ask for one, might as well go big, right?
Yeah.
So this event exists because Jean Grey was supposed to stay dead after Dark Phoenix. That's what Chris Claremont wanted. But editorial said, no, she's a popular character. We're bringing her back. And so the character of Madeline Pryor, who Claremont always intended, and this is what I read various places, so I think this is correct. Claremont always intended Maddie to be just a regular gal who happened to resemble Scott Summers' dead wife. Just supposed to be a regular person. But now, to bring the original Jean Grey back, he had to retcon Maddie as someone a lot more complicated. Now, a lot of stuff happens at this event, to say the least. But one thing that happens is that Maddie's son, Nathan Christopher, known to you and me as Cable, he was hidden away in cryogenic storage, then found by Scott and Jean. And then he was stolen by demons while Scott and Jean were distracted by Nanny and Orphan Maker. I did not expect to see Nanny and Orphan Maker here, but I had not realized they were even part of Inferno. So that makes me want to read Inferno, because I like that. The question Jean asks in this issue is, what if that didn't happen? What if I heard baby Nathan getting kidnapped and I saved him? And the answer is, once again, nothing good. Maddie Pryor, just as big a pain in the ass either way. I don't think it's worth it to go through a blow-by-blow of this book. It's too tied up in continuity, and I'd get a bunch of it wrong. If you want all those details of what each panel connects to, listeners, go check out the write-up at housetoastonish.com. They go panel by panel, page by page, and really make some cool connections to books I haven't read, but maybe you have.
I recognize the old X-Force, X-Force, X-Factor, when it was like the original 5 breaking off.
And pretending to be non-mutants. Yeah, that whole deal.
And I remember their whole base was like some ship they stole from Apocalypse. And that was that was the status quo for like ever. So made me kind of wonder what happened to that idea.
Our current Alpha Flight is kind of, sort of, a little bit like that in that they're pretending to capture mutants when really they were rescuing. So it has a little bit of a DNA there. But what I think is important from this issue, for our purposes, is on page 18, where Jean is fighting Maddie, and the Phoenix Force shows up to make Jean an offer. I don't think that offer happened in the old Inferno story. I think it's new. I think it's happening now in the White Hot Room. The Phoenix Force says, quote, I brought Madeline to life. I can lead you back to life if you accept me as I am, my darkness and my light. Now, Jean tells the Phoenix Force that, screw you, I'm not playing. Not a direct quote. What she actually says is, I won't be used as Madeline was used. And the Phoenix says, then die, Jean Grey. So this seemed to be her path back to being alive in the main continuity. And she didn't take it, which is kind of interesting because we all presume that after the next issue, she'll be back. But this seemed like her off-ramp, and she didn't take it, which is kind of cool. So from here, we see death and destruction follow, and Jean imagined what if, just like we did twice before. And at the end, Jean is out of ideas. She says, I accepted the Phoenix Force. I sent it to others. I rejected it. Every choice means death and destruction. What else should I have done? And the answer she gets is, why are you asking us? And that answer comes from a whole bunch of other Jeans Grey. A couple of Silver Age Jeans here. We got Dark Phoenix Jean, a 1990s Jean, Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey. All these cool, these cool costumes that the artist gets to draw. Looks kind of neat. And they say to our Jean, I mean, you're the one who created this mess. Why are you asking us? So, what's going to happen in the next and final issue of the series? Hell if I know. You have any guesses, Ruben?
One of these personalities is going to accept the Phoenix offer and replace the current.
I kind of like that. That's interesting. We have all these different Jean Greys that she's been over the years, and I guess if this one doesn't want to be the Jean Grey Phoenix, maybe another one will. I like that guess. I don't know if it's true, but I like it. The next issue of the series will be its last, and is going to be entitled Ashes to Ashes. So, yeah, this was a confusing read. Largely my own fault for not having read Inferno. I'll put it on my ever-expanding to-read pile. But the solicit for the final issue promises all secrets revealed. And Marvel solicits wouldn't lie to me, would they, Ruben? Never. Never.
I want to say this, though. Like, how many secrets are there? I don't feel like this has been a secret-ridden series, so that's sort of a cop-out in my mind. There's one secret. How is she coming back?
Now, I think the Bernard Chang art here looks really fantastic. Jean Grey looks great. He draws fun demons, a really sinister-looking Mr. Sinister. The colorist, Marcelo Maiolo, pulls off the distinction between present and flashback nicely, which makes the confusing issue a little less confusing, so thank you to the colorist. If you just want to see some great Jean Grey-related art, including a very skimpily dressed Madeline Pryor, this is the book for you. Lots of very Halloween-appropriate art for this Halloween week. So overall, I'm kind of at a loss for how to rate this, right? I was hoping for more clarity on what's going on for Immortal. I didn't really expect to get it, but I was hoping for it. I'm going to kind of punt on this and give it just a 7 out of 10. It's a good book. I feel like I'm not appreciating its virtues as much as some people will. I mean, people who are well-versed in all things Inferno, you may love this, or maybe there's things wrong with it that I also don't know. If you're a relative noob to all things Inferno, this is not going to unconfuse you. Now, where are you going to come down on this, Ruben?
I still feel like this is just Dark Multiverse, and ever since I drew that parallel, I have a hard time being excited about the series.
The White Hot Room, Ruben. Been around forever. Never made sense, but it's been around forever.
This whole series, in my mind, really is just like a checklist series where it's like, oh, I got to read that Jean Grey series, right? Oh, I got to read this other one. I mean, all this, I did think that the Inferno stuff was interesting, but I was like, oh, I should actually just read Inferno. That should be, I don't know. A story that just tells me go read the better version of this story is not that exciting. So I'm going to go 6. But I do want to see, I did like the connectivity with Immortal, and it's nice to see that actually happened. And
yeah.
This is kind of a way she comes back.
Fleshed out, and that it's meaningful for both series, and it's not just a ad hoc, oh, let's make them look like they cross, or that was tacked on afterwards. I hope there's real meat to it.
Yeah. Agreed.